Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when everything feels still, silent, and uncertain. You pray, you wait, you hope, and yet nothing seems to move. The doors appear closed, the answers seem delayed. The breakthrough feels distant, but I want you to understand something powerful today. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean God is not moving. Just because you do not feel progress does not mean heaven is inactive. Behind the scenes, beyond your sight, beyond your understanding, God is preparing something so overwhelming, so undeniable, that when it arrives, you will know it could only have come from Him. There are seasons when God allows pressure to build. He allows circumstances to stretch you. He permits challenges to refine your character, not because He has abandoned you, but because He is positioning you. Before a great release, there is often a period of preparation. Before a mighty outpouring, there is a quiet buildup. You may feel like you are standing on a shoreline looking at a calm horizon, unaware that far beyond what you can see, something massive is forming, and when it reaches you, it will not be small. It will not be partial. It will not be barely enough. It will be overwhelming favor. God's favor is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is not random chance. Favor is the intentional kindness of God expressed in your life. It is when opportunities find you. It is when doors open that no one can shut. It is when the right people appear at the right time with the right resources. Favor does not mean there will be no opposition. In fact, sometimes opposition is a sign that something significant is about to break forth. The enemy resists what he fears, and he fears the hand of God resting powerfully on your life. Some of you have endured disappointment after disappointment. You trusted and were betrayed. You worked hard and were overlooked. You prayed and felt unheard. But what you perceived as rejection was often redirection. What felt like delay was divine timing. God sees the entire picture. He knows what you do not know. He understands what you cannot understand. And when He releases His favor, it will not be accidental. It will be appointed. A tsunami begins far out in the ocean, often undetected at first. The surface may look calm, but deep beneath, tremendous energy is building. In much the same way, God has been building something beneath the surface of your circumstances. While you were waiting, He was working. While you were doubting, He was arranging. While you were weary, He was strengthening you for what is coming. The blessing that is approaching your life is not fragile. It is not temporary. It carries the weight of divine purpose. But here is the key: you must remain aligned with Him. Favor flows where obedience lives. God's blessing is not something you chase. It is something that follows surrender. When you commit your plans to Him, when you trust Him with your future, when you walk in integrity, even when no one is watching, you are positioning yourself for the outpouring. Integrity invites favor. Faith activates favor. Gratitude sustains favor. Gratitude sustains favor. Do not measure your future by your current circumstances. Your present situation is not a prophecy of your permanent condition. Just because you are in a valley does not mean you will live there. Valleys are places of growth. They are places where roots go deeper. They are places where character is formed. And when the time is right, God will lift you from that valley to a place of visible blessing. When this wave of favor comes, it will change perspectives. Those who doubted you will wonder how it happened. Those who dismissed you will notice the transformation. But remember, the purpose of favor is not to elevate your ego. It is to magnify God's faithfulness. When He blesses you, it is so that your life becomes a testimony. Others will see His goodness through your story. They will see His power through your perseverance. You must also prepare your heart to receive. Sometimes we pray for blessing, but deep inside we feel unworthy. We remember our mistakes. We recall our failures. We replay our regrets. But God's favor is not earned by perfection. It is given by grace. If He waited for you to be flawless, none of us would receive anything. His grace covers your past. His mercy renews your present, and His favor secures your future. There will be moments when you are tempted to give up just before the breakthrough. The pressure may intensify, the doubts may grow louder, but often the greatest resistance comes just before the greatest release. Stand firm, stay faithful, continue praying, continue believing, continue acting in obedience. You are closer than you think. When the tsunami of favor reaches you, it may come through unexpected channels. A conversation you did not plan, an opportunity you did not seek, a restoration you thought was impossible. God does not need perfect conditions to bless you. He can use imperfect people and imperfect situations to accomplish His perfect will. What matters is not how it arrives, but who sends it. And when it comes, steward it wisely. Use the blessing for His glory. Remain humble. Stay grounded in prayer. Do not let success separate you from the source. The same God who lifts you up is the one who sustains you. Dependence on Him must increase, not decrease, as favor increases. I believe there are individuals hearing these words who are standing at the edge of a new season. You have cried enough tears, you have endured enough nights of uncertainty. The season of lack is giving way to a season of abundance. The season of obscurity is giving way to a season of visibility. The season of striving is giving way to a season of grace-filled advancement. Lift your expectations, expand your vision. Refuse to let fear define your future. God is not limited by your resources, your background, your age, or your past. He specializes in exceeding what you imagine. When He moves, He does so with purpose and precision. And when His favor is released, it carries with it peace, clarity, and confirmation. Hold steady. Trust deeply, walk faithfully. What is forming beyond your sight is moving in your direction with unstoppable force, carrying blessings that will not only transform your life, but also reveal the unmistakable hand of God guiding every step of your journey. There are seasons in life when everything appears still. You pray, you believe, you work diligently, yet nothing seems to shift. The doors remain closed. The phone does not ring. The opportunity does not appear. In those moments, it is easy to assume that nothing is happening. It is easy to feel forgotten or overlooked. But just because you cannot see movement does not mean God is inactive. Heaven is never silent in its work, even when it feels silent to you. God operates beyond the limits of your vision. You see the present moment. He sees the entire timeline of your life. You see the obstacle. He sees the outcome. You see the delay, He sees the design. What appears to you as inactivity is often divine orchestration taking place behind the scenes. Pieces are being arranged, hearts are being prepared, circumstances are being aligned in ways you could never manage on your own. Think about how often we judge our progress by visible results. We measure success by what we can touch and confirm, but God often does His greatest work beneath the cells, your face. Just as seeds grow underground long before they break through the soil, so too does God develop blessings in unseen places before they manifest in your life. The underground season is not wasted time. It is necessary preparation. When nothing seems to be happening, something very important is actually taking place within you. God uses waiting seasons to build endurance. He strengthens your faith when there is no evidence. He teaches you trust when there are no immediate answers. Anyone can believe when everything is visible and predictable, but it takes spiritual maturity to stand firm when you cannot trace what God is doing. Sometimes they are divine protection. If certain opportunities had come earlier, you may not have been ready to handle them. If certain doors had opened sooner, you might have walked into situations that would have harmed you rather than helped you. God's timing is precise. He does not operate according to your impatience. He moves according to His wisdom. Behind every apparent pause, there is purpose. You may feel like you are standing still, but God is aligning events far beyond your current location. Conversations are happening that you know nothing about. Decisions are being made that will eventually affect your life. Paths are crossing that will intersect with yours at the right moment. What feels random is actually intentional. There are also internal adjustments taking place. While you focus on changing circumstances, God often focuses on shaping character. He refines your motives. He strengthens your integrity. He humbles your heart, because when the blessing arrives, your character must be strong enough to sustain it. A foundation must be secure before the structure rises. If elevation comes without preparation, it can lead to collapse. But when preparation precedes promotion, stability follows. Successful at the hands of others. It is important during these unseen seasons to guard your perspective, Discouragement will try to convince you that nothing is coming. Doubt will whisper that you have been forgotten. Comparison will tempt you to look at others who appear to be advancing faster. But your journey is not identical to anyone else's. God's plan for your life is uniquely designed. What He is building in you and around you may require more time because it carries greater weight. Trust grows strongest in the dark. Faith becomes most powerful when it is not dependent on visible proof. When you continue to pray even without immediate results, you are declaring confidence in a God who works invisibly. When you continue to act with integrity despite no recognition, you are proving that your obedience is not conditional on applause. These quiet acts of faith are not unnoticed. They are building momentum in the spiritual realm. You must also understand that preparation seasons are protective seasons. Sometimes God slows things down because He is preventing you from stepping into something that looks appealing but lacks His blessing. He closes doors not to frustrate you, but to redirect you. He allows waiting not to punish you, but to position you for something better than what you would have chosen. It is easy to celebrate breakthroughs, but it is in the hidden seasons that strength is developed. Muscles grow through resistance. Character grows through testing. Patience grows through delay. These qualities through time and trust. They are cultivated through time and trust. And when the moment of visible movement finally comes, you will be grateful for the unseen work that prepared you. Even when you cannot trace His hand, you can trust His heart. God is not careless with your life. He is intentional with every detail. He knows the exact timing required for what He is preparing. Nothing catches Him by surprise. Nothing is beyond His control. The very situation that seems stagnant may be the ground where the greatest shift is forming, so remain faithful in the quiet. Continue praying in the silence. Keep believing when there is no evidence. Maintain your integrity when no one is watching, because while you are waiting, God is working. While you are wondering, He is arranging. While you are hoping, He is building something that will one day make you look back and realize that every silent season was filled with unseen movement. Divine favor is not something that happens by accident. It is not random luck, nor is it the result of chance circumstances lining up at the right moment. It is the deliberate, intentional expression of God's goodness toward your life. When God chooses to place His favor upon you, it carries purpose, it carries direction, it carries divine intention that cannot be explained by human reasoning alone. Many people spend their lives chasing opportunities, striving endlessly to create outcomes in their own strength. While effort and diligence are important, there comes a point where human ability reaches its limit. That is where favor steps in. Favor accomplishes what effort alone cannot. It opens doors that qualifications cannot unlock. It creates connections that networking cannot manufacture. It brings recognition that striving alone cannot secure. You may look at someone's life and assume their success is simply the result of talent or timing. But often what you are witnessing is the unseen hand of God arranging circumstances in their favor. Divine favor has a way of positioning you in the right place at the right time with the right people. It orchestrates details so precisely that when it unfolds, you realize it was far beyond coincidence. This does not mean that challenges disappear. In fact, favor often attracts resistance where, and God begins to elevate you, opposition may increase. Criticism may grow louder, obstacles may appear unexpectedly, but resistance does not negate favor. It often confirms it. When something valuable is being established, it will face pressure. The presence of opposition does not mean God has withdrawn His hand. Sometimes it means you are stepping into territory that carries significance. Divine favor also operates beyond your limitations. It is not restricted by your background, your education, your past mistakes, or your current resources. God does not consult your resume before blessing you. He is not limited by what others think about you. He is not constrained by the labels people have placed upon you. When He decides to favor you, He does so because of His purpose, not your perfection. There will be moments when favor looks subtle. It may appear as protection from something that could have harmed you. It may come as a delay that prevented you from making a costly mistake. It may show up as peace in the middle of chaos. Not all favor is flashy or dramatic. Sometimes the greatest acts of divine kindness are the ones you never fully see because they kept trouble from reaching you. Other times, favor is unmistakable. A door opens that seemed impossible. An opportunity presents itself without striving. Restoration happens where relationships once seemed permanently broken. Provision arrives at the exact moment it is needed. These are not accidents. They are intentional demonstrations of God's involvement in your life. It is important to understand that favor is not earned by flawless behavior. If blessing depended on perfection, none of us would qualify. Favor flows from grace. It is rooted in God's character, not your performance. This truth should not lead to complacency, but to gratitude. When you realize that God's kindness toward you is intentional and undeserved, it produces humility rather than pride. Humility is essential because favor is never meant to inflate your ego. It is meant to reveal God's faithfulness. When He blesses you, it becomes a testimony to others. People begin to see that there is something beyond human effort at work in your life. Your story becomes evidence of divine goodness. Your breakthrough becomes encouragement for someone else's faith. There is also a responsibility that comes with favor. When God entrusts you with opportunity, influence, or provision, it must be stewarded wisely. Favor is not permission for carelessness. It is an invitation to faithfulness. The same integrity that positioned you for blessing must sustain you in it. Character must remain strong as visibility increases because we have experienced disappointment. We hesitate to believe for greater things because we fear being let down. But divine favor requires expectation. You must believe that God is capable of moving intentionally in your direction. Faith opens your heart to receive what grace desires to give. It is also important to avoid comparison. When you see favor resting on someone else, do not assume there is less available for you. God's resources are not limited. His purposes are not competitive. What He has assigned to your life is uniquely yours. Trust that His intentional plan for you will unfold in the right season. Divine favor may not always follow your preferred timeline, but it always follows divine wisdom. When it arrives, you will recognize that it was worth the wait. The closed doors, the redirections, the moments of uncertainty, all of them will make sense in light of what God was preparing. What once felt confusing will reveal itself as carefully arranged. So walk with confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who directs your steps. Believe that His hand is active, that His plans are purposeful, and that His favor toward you is not random but intentional. Even now, unseen arrangements are aligning in ways that will one day make you stand in awe of how precisely and personally God moved on your behalf. There is a divine principle that cannot be ignored. Favor flows where surrender lives. Many desire blessing, advancement, and open doors, yet few recognize that the pathway to sustained favor is paved with obedience, integrity, and unwavering faith. God is not searching for perfection. He is looking for hearts that are yielded to Him. When you align your will with His, you position yourself in the current of His purpose, and that current carries favor. Obedience is not always dramatic. Often it is quiet and unseen. It is choosing honesty when deception would be easier. It is remaining faithful when compromise seems more profitable. It is doing what is right when no one else would know if you did not. These small, consistent decisions build a foundation that can support the weight of greater blessing. If God were to elevate you without strengthening your character, the pressure of success could crush you. But when obedience becomes your lifestyle, you are prepared for what He entrusts to you. Integrity is the guardrail of favor. It protects you from self-sabotage. It ensures that when doors open, you can walk through them without fear of exposure. A person may achieve temporary success through shortcuts, but lasting favor rests on a life that is aligned with truth. Integrity means your private life matches your public image. It means your words align with your actions. It means your commitment to God remains steady regardless of who is watching. There will be moments when obedience costs you something. You may lose opportunities because You refuse to compromise your values. You may be overlooked because you will not part. Precipitant dishonesty. You may stand alone because you choose righteousness over popularity. But what you surrender in the short term, God restores in greater measure in the long term. Obedience may seem slow, but it leads to stability. Compromise may seem fast, but it leads to collapse. Faith is the bridge between obedience and fulfillment. Without faith, obedience feels burdensome. Without trust, surrender feels risky. But when you believe that God is good and that His plans are for your benefit, obedience becomes an act of confidence rather than fear. Faith declares that God sees what you cannot see. It affirms that He understands what you do not understand. It rests in the assurance that His instructions are leading you somewhere purposeful. Often the greatest tests of faith come in seasons of waiting. You obey, yet you do not see immediate results. You remain faithful, yet the breakthrough seems delayed. In those moments, the temptation is to question whether your integrity is worth it. But favor is not activated by impatience. It is cultivated by persistence. When you continue to trust God despite uncertainty, you are proving that your relationship with Him is not transactional. You are not obeying merely for reward. You are obeying because you trust His character. Surrender does not mean passivity. It does not mean you stop working or striving toward excellence. Rather, it means you release control over the outcome. You do your part with diligence, but you trust God with the results. You make wise decisions, but you seek His guidance. You pursue opportunities, but you refuse to force doors open that He has not authorized. This balance of action and trust positions you perfectly for divine alignment. God often looks for individuals who are dependable in small matters before entrusting them with greater responsibility. If you cannot manage what is already in your hands, how can you expect increase? Faithfulness in little things signals readiness for more. When you treat small assignments with seriousness and gratitude, you demonstrate that you understand stewardship. Favor is not only about receiving, it is about managing what you receive with wisdom. Humility is another essential component of positioning. Pride disrupts alignment. When you begin to believe that your success is solely the result of your own ability, you disconnect from the source. But when you acknowledge that every opportunity and advancement ultimately comes from God, you remain grounded. Humility keeps your heart teachable. It allows correction. It welcomes growth, and it ensures that when favor increases, dependence on God increases as well. There is also power in consistency. Many start strong but lose momentum when results are not immediate. True positioning requires steady commitment. It is choosing daily disciplines that strengthen your relationship with God, prayer, reflection, gratitude, and obedience to His Word. These practices keep your spirit aligned even when circumstances fluctuate. Obedience, integrity, and faith create a spiritual alignment that invites divine movement. You do not manipulate favor, you to prepare for it. You do not demand blessing, you cultivate readiness. When your heart is aligned with God's purposes, you become a vessel through which He can confidently pour out His goodness. And when that outpouring arrives, it will rest upon a life that has been strengthened, refined, and firmly rooted in trust. There comes a defining moment in every believer's journey when what God has been doing quietly becomes visible. The faith you held in private begins to produce public evidence. The prayers whispered in the dark begin to manifest in the light. The tears you shed in silence become seeds for a testimony that others can see. When the season shifts and favor is revealed, it is not merely a change in circumstances, it is a revelation of God's unwavering faithfulness. For a long time, you may have felt unnoticed. Your obedience seemed unrewarded. Your sacrifices felt unrecognized. You wondered whether your consistency mattered, but God never overlooks faithfulness. He records every act of trust. He sees every quiet decision to stand firm. And when the appointed time arrives, He brings forth evidence that He was attentive all along. The coming season will not simply improve your situation. It will clarify your story. What once looked like rejection will be understood as protection. What felt like abandonment will be revealed as redirection. You will begin to see that certain closed doors were necessary to guide you toward better ones. The delays that frustrated you were aligning you with opportunities that required precise timing. In hindsight, the confusion will give way to clarity. God's faithfulness is often most visible after endurance. It is easy to praise Him when everything flows smoothly. But when you remain committed through hardship, your breakthrough carries deeper meaning. The blessing will not just be about what you gained, it will be about what you learned along the way. You will recognize that the strength you developed in adversity is just as valuable as the opportunity that now stands before you. There is something powerful about visible transformation. When others observe the shift in your life, they may only see the outcome. They may notice the open doors, the restored relationships, the provision, or the peace that surrounds you. But you will know the full journey. You will remember the nights of uncertainty, the moments when giving up felt easier than pressing forward. That awareness will keep you humble and grateful. This new season will also strengthen your confidence in God's character. Once you witness His faithfulness in one area, it becomes easier to trust Him in others. The testimony of yesterday becomes the foundation for faith tomorrow. You will no longer interpret delays as absence. You will no longer mistake silence for neglect. You will understand that even when you cannot trace His hand, His heart remains consistent. When God's favor becomes evident, it has a ripple effect. Your story will encourage those who are still waiting. Your perseverance will inspire those who are tempted to quit. People who once doubted may begin to reconsider, not because you sought validation, but because God's work in your life becomes living proof that faithfulness matters. It is important, however, to remain anchored in gratitude. When elevation comes, pride can quietly attempt to take root. You may be tempted to attribute success solely to your effort or strategy, but never forget the countless unseen moments when God sustained you. The strength to endure came from Him. The wisdom to decide came from Him. The opportunity itself was arranged by Him. Gratitude protects the heart from arrogance and keeps your spirit aligned. The revelation of God's faithfulness will not eliminate future challenges. Life will continue to present tests and uncertainties, but you will face them differently. You will carry the memory of what He has already done. That memory becomes a shield against fear. It becomes a reminder that the same God who brought you through one season is capable of guiding you through another. Sometimes we imagine that a new season means perfection, that every difficulty disappears, but often it simply means you are better equipped. The lessons learned in hardship prepare you for greater responsibility. The patience cultivated in waiting strengthens you for leadership. The compassion developed through struggle allows you to serve others more effectively. The favor you receive is not isolated from your growth. It is connected to it. As this season unfolds, remain attentive to the purpose behind the blessing. God's faithfulness is not displayed solely for personal comfort. It is revealed so that His goodness may be seen through your life. When you walk in integrity during abundance, just as you did in adversity, you demonstrate that your devotion was never conditional. When you extend generosity after receiving favor, you reflect His character. The shift you are approaching will feel both rewarding and humbling. Rewarding because you will see tangible evidence of what you once believed only by faith. Humbling because you will recognize how dependent you were and still are on God's grace. The story will not end with your breakthrough. It will continue as a testimony that echoes far beyond your own experience. As we reflect on everything that has been spoken, one truth rises above it all. God has never been absent from your story. In the silence, He was working. In the delay, He was aligning. In the struggle, He was strengthening. What felt like stagnation was preparation. What seemed like rejection was redirection. What appeared to be a closed chapter was simply a pause before a greater release. You are not standing at the end of hope. You are standing at the edge of fulfillment. The quiet seasons were not empty. They were sacred. They were building endurance, shaping character, and positioning you for a move of God that cannot be explained by human effort alone. Every prayer you prayed, every tear you shed, every act of obedience when it would have been easier to walk away, none of it was wasted. The favor of God is intentional, it is precise, it is personal, it does not arrive by accident, and it does not overlook those who remain faithful. When it is released, it will confirm that heaven was attentive all along. Doors will open that no striving could force. Opportunities will arise that no strategy alone could produce. Peace will settle in places where anxiety once ruled, and through it all you will recognize that it was the hand of God guiding every step. But remember, the purpose of this favor is not merely comfort, it is calling. It is not just elevation, it is testimony. God's blessing upon your life is meant to reflect His goodness to a world that desperately needs hope. When others see what He has done for you, they will begin to believe that He can do the same for them. Your story will become evidence of His faithfulness. So lift your eyes beyond the present moment. Refuse to let past disappointments define your expectations. Stand firm in obedience. Walk confidently in integrity. Trust deeply, even when the path is not fully visible, because the same God who carried you through the valley is now leading you toward abundance. The tide is turning, the season is shifting. The wave of divine favor that has been forming beyond your sight is moving steadily in your direction. And when it reaches you, it will reveal that God was faithful in every single moment of your journey.